Yup. Welcome back, y'all. It's Artist Pro. It's Monday, and here we are back again. And here I am in my new room. I promised y'all a couple weeks ago that you'd be seeing a new room, and you didn't see it last week because I just moved here. But this is it. This is the new room. It's still coming together, as you can see, very bare. I mean, there really isn't much of anything. I got the piano over here. I got pretty much nothing over there except some storage. I got my drum set. Yeah. I got my Alesis Strike Pro SE. As you guys know, if you don't know, actually, I am an official Alesis. Well, I wouldn't say official Alesis artist, but I'm an Alesis drummer in a kind of official capacity in that I provide social media content for them. And they help me out. So I help them out. They help me out. They hook me up with drums. It kind of works out. I'm still putting the whole thing together, as you guys can see, and probably maybe even here. There's no treatment in here yet. I got to get a rug for the whole thing that's coming in tomorrow. Panels, vibe. I got to get some more plants. There's a lot left to do, frankly, but I'm here. I'm in a new spot. I'm super stoked. I'm really stoked to have that. I can't wait to finally get cracking on some real video content. This has been at my buddy John's place, 12 Planet. It's been at his studio for the last several months, and it's actually kind of helped me in other ways. I think I told you guys I'm involved in another project with some pretty prominent folks. And it's only because I put this drum set in his studio and people asked, whose drum set is that? So even when I'm not there in the room, that kit was acting as my representation. Which is, as you guys know, I mean, of all the three P's, the planning, preparing, and positioning to me has always been the most important one. And even when you can't physically position yourself somewhere, you can have a representative. So that's what I did with that. But this is it. Welcome back, you guys. Like I said, this is the new set. And speaking of drums, a quick little announcement I wanted to make with you guys. I just posted it on my socials. So if you haven't seen the post I just made, I'll make it with you guys right now. If I just zoom out a little bit here, I mentioned this to you guys briefly, but yes, indeed, it's kind of official now. I have officially joined the squad at LA Session Drummer. Actually, these are the founding members, actually. The three of us here. That's Kevin Dupree, who on the left-hand side, who's mostly responsible for the software side of our plugin. That's Zach St. John, who's responsible for the actual drum tuning and whatnot. And then there I am, who's also involved with the marketing, as you guys might imagine, but also the e-drumming component. What is LA Session Drummer? It's starting off right now in the form of sample libraries. So we are taking the actual drum kits from real session players in Los Angeles and sampling them. And these are kits that you can't just buy at Guitar Center. These are some of the most sought after, rare drum kits that are used in actual recording sessions. And we're beginning by sampling a few different kits. We have our own sampler. So I've done this sort of thing with other clients, namely Junkie XL, in the form of our orchestral tools, percussion library, as well as the brass library. But now I'm involved directly in that I'm one of the founding members. I'm not just a mercenary, so to speak, doing it. I'm actually part of the team. And they're not clients of mine. I'm actually, part of the business now. So very excited to take the evolutionary step from working on other people's projects to having one of my own in this case. Again, if you're in the music game long enough, guys, you're going to do all kinds of shit too. All kinds of different things. So it's kind of hard to identify what the hell I do sometimes, but now I can add, plugin manufacturer to that, or, VST owner to that as well. So that's LA Session Drummer. It's going to, like I said, it's going to start off with just samples and sample libraries, but we got a whole slew of things that we're excited to get going, and mostly in the form of content for drummers, composers, producers, and e-drummers. Again, having this kit here is part of my little master plan here of infusing myself into the brand. So that's my little announcement for today. We just kind of made it public. The site is live. We have a few other kits that we're still sampling right now. So this library is going to grow to have all kinds of really, really dope kits. And I'm really excited to show you guys who these dudes are, because they're not just nobodies. That guy, for instance, right there, Zach, he works at the world famous Drum Doctors, which is actually where I met these guys. So he's responsible for providing the drums and tuning the drums for some of the most, important, biggest sessions in LA, from the biggest pop stars to the biggest tours. That guy is responsible for sourcing and tuning the drums for those specific projects. So very lucky to have met these guys serendipitously in Los Angeles. So stay tuned for more information on that. You can follow all the socials at just LA Session Drummer. And you can stay tuned with me. Just keep following me if you want to learn more about the plugin and the stuff that we're going to do, because there's a lot more stuff coming with that. That being said, this is an interesting episode of the Artist Pro Show, because I'm battling a few different things right now of other ways to provide value. That was my whole morning journal today. Was how can I start adding the most value to this stream, this community, as possible. So before we get into any of the topics today that I wanted to discuss, because there was some news over the weekend surrounding AI that I think we need to talk about. Some of you guys might even know what I'm referring to. It was all over the place. And before I kind of go into that, and before we go into your music as well, I do also just want to see a bit from you guys more about value, and specifically what kind of value you're looking to get here, because I have a list here of all the upcoming guests. But before I put them in any specific order, before I have a run sheet with any of them, before I figure out how I want to incorporate them, I kind of want to hear from y'all, since you guys are the ones who are my core audience. I mean, again, we're not a huge community quite yet. I have not been very aggressive about pushing this thing yet. I kind of want to keep those who know kind of thing, and the early folks here. I want to kind of have you guys frame, a bit more of what this is going to look like. So if you don't mind, just in the chat real quick, we don't have to make this a formal thing per se, but maybe just start with like, what has been some of the most valuable components of this show so far for you guys, whether it's the audio feedback, the personal stories, I guess, that I'm providing, the marketing help, the community. Hopefully you guys are mingling with each other and working on stuff, collaboratively. But so far, like just right now, what has been the value that you've received from this show every single week? Because I am thinking about also expanding to multiple streams per week, but they would be different, shows. It wouldn't be the same show every single week, or every single day rather. So why don't we just kind of start with what has been the most valuable component of this show for you guys so far? So please, if you don't mind, just quickly hitting the chat and jotting down very informally just what has been the most valuable part of your experience with me in this show so far. And then from there, after you've typed that in, I would really appreciate it if you guys just threw in what more are you looking for, not necessarily from me or from the show, but what are you looking for in terms of career progression, career help? If you could have like the perfect stream, what would the perfect stream be offering you guys? What more would you want to see? What specific kinds of help do you think you're looking for right now? Because I want to make sure that we curate everything that we put out specifically to you. Some of the things I want to focus on personally are getting all different kinds of perspectives of music professionals, artist professionals. I mean, I have this archetype of what the artist pro is, and I want to showcase to you guys and more people, obviously, as well, the different types of archetypes that exist. Because in the early stages of your career, you might be like, well, I want to be a DJ because I've just seen this guy, he's a DJ, and I just want to be that guy, or that girl. And what we may not know is that person may have had a crazy, windy, bizarre path that got them to be a DJ that may not be so linear. And honestly, having now been in the game for as long as I have, I kind of don't want to spread the snake oil salesman, stuff of like, just follow your passion and dream, be so singularly focused, get to that one thing, because that's how burnout happens, and that's how, broken dreams happen. I also just want to ensure that everyone here is set up for success so they can do other things in the music industry and keep themselves fulfilled, happy, and paid. That's the biggest thing, I feel like once the money really starts coming in from things around your work, around your skill, around the stuff that you're really into, I think that's where the fulfillment starts to really happen. Because you could work, grind, and all you get are modest results and like barely any money. I've always thought, like, at a certain point, if you're making really good stuff and if you really have high quality value and you have a good social capital, you have all the things, right, that we talk about here, and financial, at least stability, is eluding you, something is wrong, right? Whether it's focusing more on the sales side of what you do, getting more aggressive about income specifically. With Artist Pro, we never promise anything because everyone's so dependent on their own skills and their own talent and work ethic. But one thing that we really try to hammer is the idea of just having the sustained career, the middle class, career, if you will. I'm not necessarily guaranteeing you'll blow up or get famous or any of that kind of crap, but at the very least, getting you to a stage where you can start making an income, getting away, getting away from the bullshit. I think is one of the big core focuses on Artist Pros to try to at least graduate the casual, the hobbyist, the passionate hobbyist into the semi or even full-time professional in music, whatever that might be. As you guys know, I'm doing all different kinds of things, and I've not reached the phase personally yet where any one of them, maybe marketing, I guess that's the only one I can think of, that really had so much demand because of the success I experienced in it that it pulled me away from the other things. I do the other things because I really enjoy them. But at the same time, I'm strategically, as you just saw with the drums and all this stuff, I'm always trying to spread my chips to let one of them really flourish at any kind of given time. And marketing has been the only one so far that has really been outstandingly demanding. That's just the way I'll put it, where I've had to turn down business and turn down things because, marketing has been so just demanding, frankly. I enjoy it, but I get bored pretty quickly. So that's kind of what the spirit of Artist Pro is, taking the hobbyist into the professional. So with that being said, I'd love to hear more about what you guys are looking for in terms of helping you get to that point. It could be in the form of content. You guys can reply I'm looking for content around this subject, around this sort of stuff. Or it could be specifically, I'm looking for licensing opportunities. I'm looking for anything will help me curate the list of people I want to bring in, because I also do want to make sure that my network is your network too, because we all know that more than half the battle of this thing truly is who you know and who you're introduced through as well. So I want to do my best to ensure that my network becomes your guys' network too. That being said, let's take a look at what you guys have got so far. James Shen, welcome back. Hope your trip was good. My G, the term on-ramp has been really helpful for my daily motivation and tough tasks. Yeah, warming up. Especially as you get older and we get more into our routines, especially the idea of what he's referring to is the on-ramp of getting into some of the deep work, some of the meaningful needle moving work. It's not just sit down and we go. Sometimes having a ritual, a process, a warm up of some kind, metaphorically speaking, or I guess maybe even literally, to kind of get you in that zone. For me, depending on what I'm doing, but especially specifically for creative stuff, part of my warm up, my on ramp, is the turning off of other things. So if I'm going to get in music mode, it's phone off. I need to be in the room, this room, obviously for now specifically, for at least 15 minutes. And I need to kind of melt into the room a little bit. So hence the lighting helps me. Visual cues help me a lot. I'll often listen to music that's really inspiring me at the moment. And especially since this is my first instrument, I mean, I know as an artist, I'm kind of known for the piano stuff, but that's my first instrument. My warm up, my on ramp is actually a physical task. Lately, especially since I've had this thing back, and I'm so thankful that I finally have it back in my place. I just been drumming, and not so much drumming to other people's music or to a metronome. I'm not trying to practice that kind of stuff. I'm just trying to let my brain go completely free. And I have my own personal exercises of this on ramp for me. One of them is this little thing I do where I'll try to play one bar randomly, jazz style maybe, just randomly play a pattern, and then I'll try to replicate that exact pattern in the next bar. So one bar of do 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 do, and then I'll immediately be all right, do that exact same thing again. Do 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 do, and across different pads, obviously. And then, all right, just try two bars, and then I'll just play two bars randomly off the top of my head, and then great, repeat that exact same thing. So trying to make the accidental intentional really is a kind of form of meditation. I'm completely absorbed in that mode. Plus something about the physical motion of getting my body involved with the creative blending of the mind to get myself as an on-ramp. By that point, I'm physically warmed up. I've also got the bug out because, I mean, anyone who has an instrument proficiency, well, you have a bug. It's I just got to do it. I just got to do the thing. I got to do the thing for at least 10 minutes. I get that out. I get musically inclined. I get musically in the right headspace, and then I sit. And then I try to get a little more tactful about what I'm working on specifically. So that's my on ramp for creativity stuff. My on ramp for business stuff, different on ramp, completely different on ramp. For my on ramp for the more business stuff, I try to get myself in that mindset because it is kind of like switching hats. I'll read my daily digest of what's happening in the music tech space. So I read my Music Ally subscription. I get to hypebot.com. I try to just get myself in that mode. Maybe I'll go to Twitter real quick, see what's kind of trending over there. And then I'll quickly get off of that because I know it's a rabbit hole. And then I'll try to tackle the most important needle moving thing of the day, you know? So for me today, it was about getting my sample library stuff, the LA session drummer stuff moving. So on ramps are super important. They're like warming up before you go out for a gym workout or something like that. But different on ramps for different things. I gave you guys two very basic, broad examples. You know, there's an on ramp for creativity and there's an on ramp for business productivity. And maybe I'll make a video about that kind of stuff at some point too. Which also, by the way, I do plan on recording videos, more YouTube style, traditional YouTube style. I've already got a few things. I actually plan on talking about one of them today in terms of the script I'm working on. But yeah, that's also another thing that's going to be coming now that I have my room finally. Yeah, you're going to see way more of that stuff. So James Shen, appreciate the on-ramp contribution there. Oliver Blue, what up, dog? The marketing insight appears particularly useful for you. Personal anecdotes and growth and career moments, information that's a bit harder for the everyday bedroom producer to find. I mean, yeah, that's the very least I can start to offer, but I also know that my experience is just my experience, and I can only give you guys what I've learned from that experience through my own reflection and application. And the most I can hope for is that you guys hear that stuff and apply it to your own life. You know, I ain't doing this to be like, check out how dope I am, because I'm not like a world famous producer or anything like that. I am a middle class music professional who's made a living having complete autonomy over his day to day life, complete autonomy over my scheduling, you know, complete autonomy about how aggressively I need to work to make money, complete autonomy over the projects I'd like to get involved in. And I think everyone who's passionate about music should at least have that baseline, right? I mean, I got my own ambitions, I have my own goals. Don't get me wrong. I mean, I want to blow up too, just like everyone else. But I feel like because I was helped a lot, frankly, to get to those places so quickly. And I've experienced the extremes of, you know, at one point making the most money I've ever made, to the point where I was like, how am I making this much money? This is pretty dope. But also at the same time being completely miserable and literally screaming in my car. I'll never forget. It was actually around NAMM time. So around this time of the year, a couple of years ago, literally having the highest of high and like getting like my retainers paid for in the morning of like, wow, I'm making loot. I'm making really good money. But then driving to multiple client events at NAMM and having a manager like yell at me about something that was not my fault, but the buck does stop with me. And just screaming in my car, like, not worth it, not worth having heart palpitations, and just realizing that there's got to be a better way than grinding for the money, you know? So I'm finding a better system now, but that's the experience I'm giving you guys, is not necessarily that of a rock star per se, but that of a working music professional in the most competitive but also most abundant, I would say, music scene in the world, definitely the country of Los Angeles. You know, so that's kind of what I'm trying to provide for you guys, and that's the least I can offer you guys there. Chris Kane, what up? Good to see you back. I'm in the office at the moment, but we'll be listening. We'll chime in when I get the chance. Well, nice to know that we are in the background of your experience, dude. You spy the Rick Rubin book on the shelf. Yeah, I got that. I heard his podcast a while ago, or heard him on a few podcasts, and I picked up the book. I'm a little more than halfway through. I try to read a chapter a day. It's one of those books, if you've not read it, that's very much about how to view the world a little bit and how to view yourself in the creative process in it. Very abstract ideas, but as I'm reading it, there are so many moments where I'm like, oh yeah, I already think this way, and I've already thought this way, but for whatever reason, it's escaped me, it's left me, it comes and goes. At one point, I used to be very much in tune with these principles, and like anything, just like the world kind of beats it out of you, the day-to-day grind beats it out of you, obviously a little bit, but it's nice to have these reminders. It's nice to know that I'm on the right path. And, you know, sometimes getting in that mindset is not as automatic as we'd like it to be. I can't speak for Rick Rubin, but, you know, I'm not sure even he just wakes up this way every day. I'm sure he has to work on it too. Meditation. I know he's big on So yeah, I heard him speaking on a podcast, and I was like, I may just check out this book. I mean, I'd love to learn more about his insights, and he definitely gets it. I know he's now all the memes are out of him not being a musician or knowing how to produce music, but he just gets music. No, he clearly does. He clearly gets the artistic, creative way, and it helps that he's a massive pro wrestling fan. And when people hear that about him, they go like, "What, him?" And I'm always like, "What, is this so weird that people like wrestling? That people who are a little more evolved creatively and spiritually like wrestling?" I can't tell you how many times, especially in Europe, because pro wrestling is very much a North American thing, I would say. I mean, there's a definitely UK scene and whatnot. In other parts of the world, it is popular, but like, I mean, North America and Mexico with Lucha Libre, pro wrestling is huge. And I remember when I was with my European clients, so many times, so many of them would be shocked. I'm like, wait, time out. You like wrestling? I'm like, why? Why is this so weird? I don't know. But yeah, Rick Rubin being a huge pro wrestling fan, he gets it. And he's on the level. So that's what's up. All right. Let's see. Jeff Turner, welcome back to the show, my dude. Appreciate it. And remember, you guys, submit some music after the discussion on the next subject here. I will be going through some of that. James Shen back here. I'm assuming Rick Rubin said that waking up and getting out of bed is the hardest thing for him. There you go, dude. Yeah, interesting, right? I've had those days. I mean, I've had these days lately because I'm just exhausted from this move. But yeah, I think it's also something to keep in mind too, is having a reason to live forward, to move forward, to get excited about. Some days I don't sleep well because I'm just stoked on just those different projects that I have going on. The challenge, of course, is balancing all those different projects. But yeah, if you guys want to, as anything comes to your mind as you kind of continue through today's stream, let me know. Let me know more about what kind of things you're looking for specifically, maybe different types of people you like to hear from. And that doesn't also it's not limited to just the online sphere. I mean, ArtistPro is also an event thing that I plan on bringing back too. So keep that in mind. All right, let's move on to the subject of today, which I just kind of want to continue talking about, and that I will be working on a video for as well. Did you guys see the AI generated Drake in Weekend track that was out over the weekend? It was a song made by this dude, Ghostwriter 977 on TikTok, and it completely blew up. It's an AI generated song featuring Drake in quotation marks and quote The Weeknd. UMG controls about 1/3 of the global music market and has already asked the streaming platforms to ban AI. And as someone who lived through the whole Napster thing, I can't help but feel like we're in another Napster moment of like, wait a minute, no rules. This is a paradigm shift. But let me quickly share the screen and the tab, and maybe you guys can hopefully hear it as well. Let's hear this thing. The beat is trash, but the technology is crazy. My ex like Selena, the flex, bumping Justin Bieber, the fever and left. She know what she need, or she blessed, giving my best. Yeah, I got my heart on my sleeve with a knife in my back. What's with that? 21, I love him. That's a robot. That's not Drake. That's AI. So you know that it's gon' slap. Yeah, it's gon' slap. Tell him run it back. Talking to a diva, yeah, she on my nerves. She think that I need her, kick her to the curb. All I know is you could've had the world, yeah, you want my world. Got these girls on my neck, got these girls on my chest. Isn't that nutty? James Shen, I believe if let's see, new platform. Let's see. I do believe there is a link in here in the thread. I don't know if it's that one. I'm trying to find the actual thing he used to make it. I'll try to look it up and throw it into the chat at some point. Or if someone can look into that, that'd be great too. And then as a follow-up to that today, let me share the screen one more time. The AI generated song featuring Drake in The Weeknd. You got to put that in the quotes, dude. Like, careful with that. Trading lines about Selena Gomez dropped on Saturday. 20 million streamed under 48 hours. TikTok clearly the one that blew up the most. But blah 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 blah. The title said so. This is his take as to why it blew up. The title says AI. The artist name is Ghostwriter. They wear a cloth. I don't think that's necessarily why it blew up, but I think it's I think this is the big one of like, look how impressive this technology is, and it's doing it with two artists that are absolutely massive. So of course people would be into that, and it's very interesting because UMG is already begging the platforms to take it off, which is eerily similar to what happened with Napster, and there are so many ways to intake this information. Like, we can't do anything to stop it. Like, this is it, dude. It ain't going anywhere. But then again, like, are they streaming it because it's Drake in the weekend? Or are they streaming it because they just kind of want to hear the technology, do its thing? And I was joking with a buddy of mine. He's a music publisher. He actually sent me that track, being like, and just said, "It's over, dude. Like, it's done." I'm thinking like, well, in some ways, a lot of things are over, but also just going to be different now. Like, in a weird way, for pure novelty, right? I mean, you guys talk to me too through the chat. I'm kind of curious to hear your emotional, you know, input on this one, because I'm curious to hear like someone whip up like a new Tupac album featuring, The Weeknd and Big Boy, and with like James Hetfield doing a rock collab, like fantasy booking, or fantasy mashing up some crazy things, right? But I feel like it'll never penetrate the deepest emotional resonance because it's always just going to be novelty. It's always going to be like, oh, what if Tupac made a new album with Selena Gomez or something like that? And it's not, the songwriting isn't coming from Tupac, right? But does that matter? Would people even care? Are people going to be into this sort of thing? I still think that the average person is going to want to support the genuine artist. I think they're going to want to support the source, the genuine source, not the facade kind of thing, not the example work. They're going to want to support the real thing. But we are absolutely in a new Napster moment, you guys. This is why this whole space is so like fascinating to me. Is that like, on one hand, I can already see I can see ahead as to what's going to happen with outsourcing AI generation for things like library music and whatnot. But like, when it comes to artists, you have to ask yourself, well, why would someone support an artist in the first place? Is it just because they make them bounce and they like the sounds? Well, clearly not. Something else is going to happen. I don't think these people are huge fans of, Ghostwriter 977. They're fans of Drake in The Weeknd, obviously. But I feel like this was just another one of those, like, check out this cool tech. Not so much like, check out this amazing track that Drake and The Weeknd did together. I think you're going to need to hear the Tom Brady, AI Tom Brady stand-up special. I mean, look, yeah, it's just like for funny things like that, or fun, novel things. The same way that VR, for instance, hasn't completely taken over, or the metaverse hasn't taken over the way that everyone thought it would. They're there, but novelty. They're not paradigm shifts quite yet. That being said, though, we are in the very early stages, which is why, I've always held to the fact that what this is really going to usher in is a new type of influencer, right? And again, we've already seen this with things like Vocaloids and vocoders in Japan, and these anime influenced, fake YouTube personalities, basically, where you'll have avatars that are AI generated, and voice disguises that are AI generated, and songs that will be AI generated to make for new novel personalities. And it's not going to replace necessarily humans. I think it's just going to create a new class of creators. That's it. It's just going to create a new class of creators, at least for now, in its current trajectory and incarnation. I think we're just on the path towards a new class of creators. That's all. I don't think people are going to be, completely replaced by these things per se. The Impulse, Ruslan, what up, dude? We kind of had the dilemma with Tupac hologram performance at Coachella, yeah. And have we gone back since? Has hologram performances been a huge thing? In some ways, but again, novelty. Has it been complete replacement? Would a Tupac stadium tour of just his hologram sell out? I don't think so. If it was all pure holograms and Snoop and Dre and everyone was just phoned in via holograms and it wasn't really them, no, there's just something about the people being there in reality. And it kind of, it's kind of like the comparison between live TV and pre-recorded TV, right? live TV is always compelling because you have this feeling that anything can happen. And I think it's kind of what people are looking for when they go see a live performance. Anything can happen. They could talk to me in the audience. Something off the cuff can happen. Whereas holograms and these sort of things, they're more pre-recorded. They're emulations. Of course, the technology will get better and become more adaptive. The same way how we're having text that's adaptive through AI generation, ChatGPT, that kind of thing. I completely expect more AI generated holograms or AI generated, you know, personalities that are meant to be interacted with, having their own form of unpredictability and responsive technology. But again, I don't think it's going to replace the human. It's just going to create a new class of creator. And we've already seen it now. And I don't think it's something to necessarily be fearful of. It's just something to embrace and recognize as a new form of technology. James Shen, it's great for sampling, I think, but I don't think I want to hear a whole album because it's not from the actual artist. People sampling Tupac and making new songs from him decades after his death. That's true. Yeah, it's true. Again, like it's not his perspective. The whole point of this kind of goes to my point I'm going to make actually in a minute here. The whole point of us being, me loving Picture Me Rollin' or any other of the Tupac songs on like All Eyes on Me, the album was incredibly influential for me. But it wasn't so much just like, wow, these beats are dope. And like he's really rhyming well and proficiently. It's more like, damn, this guy's seen some shit. And I really want to get his perspective. And he's just delivering his perspective in a very eloquent, fun way. Whereas, but yeah, exactly what you said here. It's not, if it's not from the person, it's hollow. It's all it is. It's a copy of a copy. And there's nothing really interesting there, personally, for me. I don't think we've really seen it blow up. Yeah, of course not. No way. I mean, this is the absolute early days. So with that being said, a video I'm going to be working on today and hopefully dropping maybe next week. Um, I'm going to be leaning into the whole YouTube sort of thing. I kind of want to lean more on making YouTube videos. I'm calling it tentatively now, like the 5 ways I'm going to resist the AI music invasion. Because that's kind of what I see it as. It's not necessarily the robots are going to come and take over per se, but the invasion of this new gold rush of people running to AI and all this sort of stuff. So my 5 ways. Again, I just jotted down the bullet points. I'm just going to talk them through with you guys, and I want to hear your guys' perspective on this. So please chime in, come into the chat. And while you're doing that, by the way, if you've not submitted some tunes, don't forget there's the QR code. I do want to hear some music from you guys. In fact, let me quickly refresh the tab and see if anyone. Oh, Oliver Blue, looks like we got something from you. Appreciate you for doing that. If you guys want to submit some music, we're going to get to them in about 15 minutes or so. So keep that in mind. Let me see if anyone else has submitted music for today. If it's just Oliver Blue, Saison. Yes, thank you for submitting some music. I appreciate that. Remember that Tupac remix from Ison? Was it Ison Leonard? That thing was super dope. So we got Oliver Blue and Saison are up for today. So keep that in mind, y'all. So the first way I plan on resisting the AI music invasion is I plan on honing my craft more as a performer and not so much as a producer. I think production is going to be the simplest thing to emulate moving forward with AI. We're already seeing it. Like, I'm not going to be focusing so much on library music in the next 2 to 3, 4 years because anything that's like background music that's not artist forward, artist specific, and artist facing, stuff that's like meant to be used for purposes that's not just like coming through a personality. I think it's going to get automated pretty quickly, man. I mean, like, why would I spend so much time making, unless I want to, and I have something to say with it? Ambient background music and putting it in a music library when I know AI is just, if it's not already there now, you guys, 6 to 8 to 12 months away from pretty much nailing how to make ambient music because they've inputted enough samples, and data to know that, okay, I can make 10 tracks of ambient music. And without having to pay a rights holder, maybe it's going to be like an AI music company. And there already exists, by the way, that just has like different categories of like, great, use this track. And it's going to be so much cheaper because the overhead's going to be so much lower. There's not an artist to pay out. They don't have to pay that artist out in perpetuity. There's no buyouts. It's just, our computer made this ambient song. If it works for your YouTube video or your social media video, go for it. Just pay us our fee. Done. Easy. So like anything that's like background music related, I don't know, dude. count your days. I think that we're not going to see as many opportunities for that. So my whole thing is, in my room is configured this way just temporarily, but like as Rizik is evolving, I kind of came about during the streaming era where my productions were doing me pretty well. But I feel like in order to be more AI proof, because people aren't, there is no, like we just discussed, there is no thirst and demand to see AI performances. Because again, we've talked about this. There's nothing really inherently interesting about that. Like, why would I want to see a robot that's already perfectly programmed perform something perfectly? Where's the nuance? I think people will always want to marvel at human exceptionalism. So I plan on modifying my sound, even, you guys. Like, I got this drum set. I have the keyboards here. I have Ableton, controllers. I want to focus more on visual as opposed to audio, and having the average person kind of see what I'm doing and assembling and creating, because I feel like the listening part is, not only is it really saturated, but it's not going to be as impressive because we're going to see computers and AI can just replicate so easily. So I'm going to focus more on performance. And in that regard, I'm thankful, because my early days as a musician, I didn't start off as a producer like so many people are now today. I started off as a musician playing the drums and then playing piano. And I didn't get to DAWs till like later. So I'm behind the curve when it comes to like DAW proficiency and mixing and plugins and and really in-depth sound design. I mean, I can hold my own. I'm confident in my skills as a producer enough to be like, no, I can hang, I can make good shit. But like, I'm a musician and performer first, and for many years, I thought, oh, fuck, like that's actually not good because like you need to really be up on your production chops these days to keep up with all the output. But now I'm like, ooh, the tide's turning a little bit. So I'm focusing more on this. I plan on even changing the sound of Rizik to be more, performance first. Like, I'm going to see like, what can I perform first and what can I do that's the most visually performance driven, and produce that. So you can listen to the music on Spotify, and hopefully people will, but I plan on being more of a visual performer, because I feel like that's something AI cannot replicate, because I'm providing an experience for you. And AI can't quite replicate experience yet. AI can clearly replicate production pretty easy, and it's going to get a whole lot better. So I want to do something that's unreplicatable. There we go. Unreplicatable by AI, at least for now, is performance. So that's one way I plan on resisting the AI music invasion, right there. Let's see. James Shannon here. There was a Japanese animation girl, Hatsune Miku, that performs and sold out. Music is made by producers. Yeah. There's plenty. There's a whole, like I said, I actually consulted for this anime music festival, and it's just AI. It's just algorithms, and it's just like Vocaloids and holograms. And again, it's niche, but there's enough people who are really, really into it. Oliver Blue, such a great point. Definitely something I feel more to implement as well. Yeah, you guys, if you're just producer DJ, you got to have some kind of visual performance component now, I think, moving forward. I mean, I've actually always said this since day one of ArtistPro, because of like the different marketing implications it has to be someone who's visually engaging. But now more than ever, like being a good producer or mixer, unless you're working on like the biggest projects, the highest level projects, good luck. So I plan on focusing more on the performance side of what I'm doing. Okay, second plan to resist the AI music invasion is, I more than ever have to develop more ways to bring my personality to the fold. For the longest time, I always kind of wanted to emulate, like many of you and many of us, just like my favorite artists, and be more elusive and not be so, normal, if that makes sense. Because like some of the favorite artists I always followed were not very normal. But I'm realizing people still connect with people, man. In this AI world we're entering now, you know, we're already seeing the disconnect of AI and holograms and hollow. How interesting, by the way, the word hollow, even though it's not spelled the same, is still a root word of hologram. It's hollow, exactly. I'm starting to kind of get away from that now, and I think I need to start developing more ways to bring my personality forward. Again, these things always kind of rang true, but for musicians specifically, since we are an audio format, audio-led format, I think I need to focus more on getting people to fall into my personality a bit more. And that includes everything. For a while, I kind of always thought Rizik and Artist Pro, for instance, had to be kind of separate. But now I'm realizing, nah, dude, it's the same guy. It's the same guy. So as people begin to connect with people more and more through social media, and there's been more of a disconnection because of it, and as AI is coming to take a lot of the production lunches, I feel like another thing to focus on is to ensure that you can bring your personality and all the layers to it. Like I was looking at this today and kind of laughing, like, what the hell kind of like neoclassical piano player has a pro wrestling belt on their piano? And I was thinking, you know what? Me. That's who. Like lean into it. All my favorite artists have had like the traditional piano setups. I'm like, fuck it. That if that's me, that's me. And that's one more layer for someone to lean into me as the world is getting more hollow with AI generated content. How can I get more ways to lean into people, and have them lean into me? So keep that in mind. All right, before I go on to the other points, I'm like a real broadcaster right now, right? I'm leaving you hanging with the cliffhangers. Let's get to music. Why don't before I go into all the different things, why don't we get to some of your guys' music? I'm going to start with Oliver Blue because he submitted first. So Oliver Blue, you're up first. Remember, you guys, to submit your music using the QR code right there, or just go to theartistpro.com to submit your music there. I'm going to pull you up, Oliver Blue, on another tab over here. All right, screen share incoming. Remember, if you guys can listen to this with headphones or good monitors or speakers, we appreciate it. All right, he says it's a quickie oldie. It's a quick oldie for today. The track is called Luz. Do I have some more information here? When I asked him if he can tell us anything about it, he says, "Feeling a chill Monday, some Brazilian jazz-inspired lo-fi ? From 2021." And he's got a question as well. So why don't we listen to Luz by Oliver Blue? And yes, Allure, you can absolutely still submit. Again, theartistpro.com, or use that QR code. We got time for your track today, dude. Go ahead and send it through. But here is Oliver Blue. Yeah, Doug. Who did the vocals for that? Kind of curious where you got the Where you got that? I recorded the vocals on my work headset. He says, mellow, super mellow, dude. Um, again, I think you can dump out a whole EP of that kind of stuff. But like, back to my kind of point I was making earlier, like this stuff is always fun, and if you really have a perspective and you really want to kind of hone this craft, continue going for it. But this whole lo-fi explosion in the last like 5 years or so has been interesting because there's been so much copycat stuff around, and there's a clear demand for this. By the way, I've spoken to lots of different music library companies and sync licensing companies, and they're still looking for this kind of stuff all the time. So keep that in mind. But I really feel again like it's gonna be scary, you guys, how AI is gonna just easily replicate this kind of stuff. And I'm not saying that as a knock or anything like that, Oliver Blue. I'm just saying something to be cognizant of, dude. Just purely looking out for the commercial viability of the music you're going to be making in the future. Um, I know, and this is probably just a demo, and this is probably just for you, and that's totally fine. I still think people should always make music for themselves first and foremost. But in terms of the commercial component of this, yeah, dude, it's kind of nutty how this sound is getting so saturated, and just something to kind of keep in mind. I won't say anything else from there. Just keep that in mind. Saison submitted a track. Always excited to hear that one. Oh, actually, he had a. Actually, let me get to the questions at the end here, so we can kind of just keep hammering through this. But Saison had a track for us. Let me throw it in here. Jeff Turner, if you don't know Saison, he is in the chat. I saw him earlier. Let me throw you over here. Ooh, a house idea. I'm excited to hear this. Let me go ahead and pull up Saison, and then we'll continue with our discussion. Let me pull it up over here to Dropbox link. The track is simply called House Idea. So there you go. Here we go. You're listening to Saison with House Idea, and this is the Artist Pro show. What a fucking tease. Are you kidding me? Hold on. We're going back. Get me back to the kick part. Well. Um, does anyone else hear the need for a vocal? Like desperately? Saison, I think that's something that you can also consider as well, dude. Like as you pump out singles, I think we talked about this you and I on a one-on-one sesh too, is that I feel like you need to like quickly shift into collab mode in every regard. I think a vocal on this is what it needs. And when you do release your singles, you can release the instrumental version. Dog, if I were you, I would release the full version, right? Like I'm just going to use this song as an example. I would release the full version with the vocals. I would release the instrumental without the vocals. I would release a drumless version. I would release an ambient version. You know what I mean? Like you can drop like a little EP of sorts with all these different kind of styles with it. So you can really spread your chips, dude. Like when you're done with the track, export, the vocal acapella with like an ambient, export just the ambient with no acapella. I'm seeing how you can make so many derivative versions of this and spread it out, because maybe the ambient with vocal gets on an ambient a dreamy soundscape playlist, and people follow you, and all of a sudden you're getting more monthly listeners, and then maybe say 20% of those go to your actual profile. They go, holy shit, there's a full song here. It's just one more way to kind of lead towards other paths to you. But that's something I would do, dude. I don't know how plug and play that would be. I mean, removing the drums, for instance, is an obvious one. But maybe remove the drums and the bass line, so it's this big synthy, spacious thing. And then maybe for the ambient version, just dump a bunch of Valhalla reverb and just up that lever for it. And then we remove some other elements, slow down the tempo, maybe add some like stretched out pads underneath it as a bed. Just again, to get the most mileage out of all your songs, dude. I would do that. And then of course, as we're discussing here, a visual component of you performing it somehow, playing it, not just DJing it. There's nothing to behold. I'm sorry. There's just nothing to behold when I see guys just like DJing a song on their Instagram. I just don't give a fuck. I don't. It's how, if you're a producer, let me see the musician at work, not the producer so much. So something to keep in mind right there. But again, Saison, like I said in the chat earlier, typical, epic and beautiful. That's you, dog. So well done on that. Let me move into the next couple ways before, in terms of how I plan on resisting the AI music invasion. Before I go to your guys' music, I believe I got one from let's see, Allura Man Shenanigans. All right, word up. Let me refresh to see if there's anyone else that came in. All right, just you two. All right, the third way I plan on resisting the AI music invasion is not hiding from it. I discussed this a little bit earlier, but don't run from AI. Lean into it, understand how it's developing, and get to know it intimately. Let me see if I can put links in the chat now. I subscribe to a few different newsletters about AI. Let's see. Let me put this in here. Let's see. This one is called Big Brain. Let me see if I can get you guys the subscription to it as well. Where is this thing? Here, let me at least send you to their Instagram. Okay, go ahead and follow these dudes. This is what I'm doing anyway. Oh my god. Nope, not that one. Sorry. There we go. The Big Brain AI. That's their gram anyway. And actually, don't do that. Do this instead. Go to that website, the Big Brain Daily, and submit your email for a subscription to their newsletter. So every single day, I'm getting a little dump about what's happening in AI. To give you an example, actually, I'll just quickly share my screen. So this is what their newsletters look like. The big one is that Google introduces something called Magi, Elon's new AI venture. It's just constantly up to date on what's happening in AI specifically. And then there's another one that's more AI music focused that I gotta find here. I think some of you guys might follow this guy on Twitter too, Where Music's Going, Rob Abelo, I think is how you say his name. But I'll put a link to his newsletter as well. I think it's over here. Yeah, I'll put a link to this here. I subscribe to both of these just to get an idea of where all of this stuff is going. So as part of my resistance, I plan on just like really leaning into it. In fact, I'm using it. Are you guys actually using ChatGPT for anything besides just like goofing off? I mean, I wrote the bio to give you an example, and this is why I'm not afraid of it yet. But I was working on the bio section, the about section for LA Session Drummer, the new plugin company that I'm a part of now. And normally I would sit there like, all right, time for you to write something about the history of the LA music scene. I got to include this, and so that when I would usually go googling, like, all right, most influential moments of LA music or most influential records of the LA music scene. And then I was like, wait a minute. So I went to ChatGPT and I was like, write me a biography on the influence of the LA music scene, include the musicians, the genres, the clubs, etc. I forgot what my prompt was. And it spit it out for me. And I didn't just copy and paste it because a lot of it was redundant. A lot of it was like not exactly perfect, but I took some core components of what ChatGPT spit out to me and I just rephrased some of it and then I just added on to that. I kind of use it as a loose, very loose skeleton for the section that I wrote. But instead of having to do all the research and then kind of manually input it, I use it as a tool. So in a way, I use ChatGPT as like a glorified search engine. Like it's like search 3.0 basically, of like not only search it out for me but spit it back to me in a way I can pretty much copy and paste but then remove the the irregularities and the stuff that isn't so good. So there you are. That's one way I'm using ChatGPT as a way to just kind of enhance my current workflow. But yeah, number 3 for me in terms of resisting AI music invasion, to kind of recap real quickly, number 1 was hone my craft more as a performer, develop more ways to bring personality into the fold. And now the third one here is don't hide from AI. Understand how it's developing. Lean into it. I'm not going to make AI generated tracks featuring Drake in The Weekend. I ain't doing that shit. But, if I see a plugin that's using AI as a form of like, maybe create a stretched out ambient bed in D major using, guitar reverbs. Great. Why not? If it can speed up my workflow and like any other tool, fast forward ways to get to the core of my creative idea, use it. Why not? I'm not going to fear it in that regard. So that's the third way I plan on resisting. Why don't we go back to a piece of music and then we'll kind of continue on to number 4 and then another piece of music and then we'll wrap up with number 5. So this one I'm going to pull up actually over here. This is from our boy Alurum. Thank you for submitting a track today, dog. I appreciate you, Giovanni. He says this is the first release of the year. Oh, okay. Word. And indeed, it came out 5 days ago. It's called Traffic. Don't play yet, please. Don't play yet. Don't play yet. No. Things smoothly. Oh my God. Okay. Let's pull up Alurum on SoundCloud over here on the screen next to me. All right, here we go. Let's check it out. Mm-hmm. All right. I'm a fan. I dig that dark shit, you guys. And yeah, I mentioned it in my little thing there. I did go see John Wick 4 over the weekend. And this is the vibe, right? That very dark, like Castlevania. What a badass, by the way. If you have not seen John Wick 4, the music in that movie is incredible. All the John Wicks have incredible music from La Castlevania. Um, I can actually talk more about John Wick 4 if a little bit after this. But yeah, let's see. I just got cut off by one last week for yeah, the traffic indeed. Um, yeah, no spoilers. I'm not giving any spoilers. John Wick 4. I just the music itself is really good. I have thoughts on the film. I'll save them. I'll say I don't want to even skew your perception of the film. I enjoyed it. At the very least, I will say I really did enjoy the film. But there's something else I want to also mention as well too. All right. Overall, I really dig it. I really dig the vibe. This is very much your sound, dude. A couple things that came to mind. Let me start actually with the vocal. I felt like we could have heard more of the vocal because there it was. There was the hook right there to kind of really have something repeatable that I could, you know, build a familiarity with. But by the 4 minute 17-second mark, but by the time it comes, I'm expecting it and I'm looking forward to it. I could have actually used a bit more of the vocal on that. And I know this track is out now, and there's nothing you can do about it per se, but something to kind of keep in mind here. And I have another follow up thought for you in terms of marketing, Giovanni, as well. The ARP, and you know what? Let me not just talk about it since we have capabilities of audio sharing. I can pull it up and not just talk about it. So y'all heard how the ARP changed. It changed twice, right? So you have, and then here it goes down, up and down. That's cool. I do like that, and I feel like there's so much more that could be done there. Since the bed of the track is made in the great mix and master, the kick, the great tempo, clean mix, the good bass lines. The intensity there is also by that ride that was that 808 the 808 ride cymbal as well, that on the quarter, very techno. By at least. So I like the little chord change there for an emotional lift. So by 237, and again, I know this is a dance floor track, but as an individual listen, I was hoping for and expecting to go to a different place here. So I feel like you shifted into fourth gear right here when you dropped the track. It wasn't a very aggressive shift. We kind of fell back into familiar territory, but I feel like that ARP could have opened up more. I feel like the ARP here, so like very staccato. Maybe there the filter could have opened up a bit more, and then from there really start fucking with it. Maybe have the ARP do its thing, opening and closing a filter, and then maybe on the left pan another synth kind of comes in and acts as like a dance partner to it, a little counter melody with it. Maybe a different kind of arpeggiation that kind of plays with it. Maybe on the right ear you have that. What is that? 16th note, or maybe 32nd note, and then maybe on the left hand it could be maybe just kind of like dancing, because I feel like that's your vocal in some ways. The ARP, it's kind of hanging out in the background. Bring it up more and let it really evolve. Let it sing. Let the ARP sing a bit more. Let it really, really evolve. To use actually the John Wick thing as an example. Let me actually pull this up. So one of the songs that I heard in the John Wick film was this song from La Castlevania. And I remember when this song came on, you guys, I was like, here we fucking go. This is John Wick. And I heard the song, and right when I heard the song, I was tempted to fucking just Shazam it. But I was like, wait, I can just look this up. And plus, I'm pretty sure it's La Castlevania. He's done all the music for it. But when I heard this synth line evolve, I was like, fuck, I have to have this track. But check it out. Why don't we quickly listen to it? can hear that synth line coming in. It's very low. It's a single note. That note, those notes right there. It's a lead. The synth becomes a lead. The bass becomes a lead. Brief introduction to it, right? I hope you guys can hear it in headphones like I am. It's like 3 different synths. Yeah, that ain't just a wide master. That's like 3 different synths. Yeah, we'll kind of stop right there. But yeah, I feel like the ARPs, there was way more room for them to dance. Like that track has got a lot going on in it, but I remember that synth line because he really let the synth dance there. And it would also help that I had the context of a badass fight scene happening. But I feel that's something you could do a bit more, you know, like I know they're dance floor ready tracks, but I feel like besides just from serving the floor and having you quickly fade into the next track, how can you stand out? You know, how can you stand out in the mix? Quite literally in the mix, not just a single track that's like a one transition track to the next. How can you be the lead track? I've always kind of thought that was like a no brainer. You know, you want to stand out in a mix a little bit more. And I feel like the ARPs there that you had in this track could have really done something, you know, especially if you think of the idea of traffic, the start and go nature, right, of traffic, and maybe like how the synths could have played more with each other and could have crashed into each other, you know, emulating traffic collisions. If you really kind of want to get artsy fartsy with it, but overall, good track, dude. But I feel like there's so many. I feel like we shifted into 4th gear, like I said, around the 230 mark. But I mean, if this is a 6-speed sports car, we got 2 more gears to go, baby. So keep that in mind for the next releases. Okay, honing my craft as a performer, developing more ways to bring personality to the fold. Don't hide from AI. The 4th of 5 things that I plan on making a video about, which you guys are getting the scoop on, I guess, in this regard, is having something to say. Again, this reflects the ArtistPro stuff that I've discussed previously of just like music as an entertainment form or just something to kind of listen to, you know, is fine. But AI, you know, AI can replicate the noises. AI can replicate the patterns. Can AI replicate original thought in terms of message, in terms of reflecting the world around you? Probably not, at least not yet. So this kind of plays into the whole human to human connection thing. But more than ever, I'm going to try to find ways that my music can reflect a deeper perspective of some kind, whether it's more holistically, like my overall project is going to reflect something. And then the themes that you get in the music is reflective of that, or the tracks themselves, whether it's featuring the vocalists. You know, I do want to feature more vocals for sure. You know, I want to be basically speaking about something, reflect on something. And music is not, you know, just the main thing. Like basically what I'm saying is like instrumental music, you know, for the most part, I'm going to try to either make as interesting as possible through messaging / performance, like we discussed, or kind of not really lean too much on instrumental music and let, you know, actual human vocals speak more than ever before. Because, you know, even if AI can generate fictitious vocals, it's not the same thing as having a real human speak and sing and really reflect an idea. So that's another way for me to resist the AI invasion is I'm going to try to lean more on things that have something really to say, a real message of some kind, and not just be pure music for entertainment's sake. All right, before I get to the final point, we have a track from Shenanigans. What's up, Shenanigans? And also shout out to James Shenanigans for donating a 20 spot to the stream. I appreciate that every time you do that, dude. You are the super supporter. And again, if you want to support the show in a monetary way, you can donate any amount of money you'd like to keep the show going, to keep our time together here as active as possible. because any kind of support you guys give the show, even if it's just in the form of telling a friend, I noticed we have the same heads here every week, and I really appreciate you guys too. But bring the homies, tell the friends, come through, y'all. And if you want to support the show in a monetary way, there is the QR code to do that right there. All right, let me go ahead and pull up the Shenanigans tune. He says this drops next Friday. Good to know. The track the track is called How to Spot a Cocaine Addict. And I asked him, can you tell me anything about the track? And he says, cocaine's a hell of a drug. Word. Let's pull up How to Spot a Cocaine Addict from Shenanigans. Look, Mom, this is what I'm doing. I love it. Let me pull down this code. Again, if you want to support the stream, there's the code. But for now, it's going to go away. Let's pull up the Shenanigans track. Hopefully you guys got your headphones on or monitors, and we can blast this. Here we go.
You want all the money. What would you do with it?
Bunch of hookers and
how to spot a cocaine addict. Sometimes it's very easy to spot a cocaine addict. Person's got white powder all over their face. That one's pretty obvious. However, that's not usually how this happens.
Whatever, cocaine, LSD, ecstasy, dance with me. Imagine yourself true with your dreams. Everything come true, everything free. Cocaine, LSD, ecstasy, dance with me. Imagine yourself true with your dreams. Everything come true, everything free. Dance with me, 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 dance with me. Whatever. Cocaine, LSD, ecstasy, dance with me. Cocaine, LSD, ecstasy, dance with me. Coke, 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 cocaine, cocaine, dance on cocaine, LSD, dance on cocaine, LSD, dance on cocaine, LSD. Follow us to the cocaine bar and the LSD island.
Follow us to the cocaine bar. On that note, by the way, Shenanigans, you got to at least start. Okay, back to some basic marketing here, you guys. Oh, you can't see the screen. Shenanigans, I need you to get on this because if you, for some reason, I saw on Twitter today, Cocaine Shark was trending, and well, that's why. Apparently, they found a bunch of coke. It's just floating in the ocean. $500 million floating in the open water. So much coke. And of course, people are getting on the trend. I thought I saw somewhere too. Someone replied with the Coke. Yeah. Yeah, dude. Get on this one. I mean, what can I say? The track, again, super sick, ready to go. Definitely use something like this in your promotion. Alurum, actually, if you're still in the chat, something I want to bring up to you. Um, Given the success of John Wick right now, it's hot. I was gonna say for you, dude, consider doing some covers of John Wick tracks, or like literally releasing a track and then going to YouTube and being like John Wick inspired music for blah blah blah. Because people are already searching for John Wick right now, so lean into that stuff. It's a great way to kind of put yourself into the conversation. But yeah, for you, shenanigans, try diving into this one, dude. I think this might serve your purposes well for today. But great track again, like a fun one. I really feel it's like tailor made for like the festival scene, dude. So yeah, get some tracks out with the Desert Hearts crew or Dirty Bird or whoever, man. Work that scene, because I feel like your music is tailor made for it. And the final way I'm resisting the AI music invasion, to recap: honing my craft more as a performer, developing more ways to bring personality to the fold, embracing the AI stuff, have something to say, have a perspective, not just focusing on the entertainment value of instrumental music. But the fifth one now would be focusing more on community collaborative projects, now more than ever, connecting with more humans than ever before now, I think, is more and more paramount. Because if you're an isolated person by themselves making instrumental music in an age of AI production, I'm just have my little crystal ball out, you guys. I don't know that's going to fare very well, especially if you're not already put on by someone else right now. And I feel, again, beyond the idea of knowing someone, again, half the battle is just having that kind of connection. So even if your connections aren't necessarily super big and powerful, but just having people. So another thing to really focus on more than ever is community collaboration. This whole thing with ArtistPro. I saw Oliver Blue mention maybe we should do an ArtistPro collab. I'd love to do that at some point, like a big collab track. That'd be really fun. But those are my 5 right there, you guys. I will plan on making a real video about this for the YouTube channel. Honing the craft more as a performer, developing more ways to bring personality to the fold, not hiding from AI, having something to say, having a real perspective, and focusing more on community and collaboration. That is the key components of my quest to battle the AI music invasion. And with that, you guys, that is going to be today's episode of Artist Pro. I appreciate you guys sending in those tunes. Yes, Oliver Blue, I agree. Some really kick-ass tunes today, including you, dude. Thank you for submitting your track as well. Impulse, Ruslan, I'd love to hear from you next week if possible, too. Like I said, you guys, if you have any questions or any thoughts or ideas, feel free to send them to me with a DM or email me, whatever it might be. Again, I want this to be your guys' show, and I want to make sure that I'm always addressing the things that you guys want on the show as well, too. So keep that in mind. And again, look for me next week, next Monday. I'm here every Monday, and I will attempt to continue to give you guys the value that you seek on this show. And now that I'm finally here, I'm moved into my new place. I got my new room. I finally expect to start pumping out more stuff for you guys and getting more local stuff in LA going too. It's just been a slog the past like 2 months, kind of getting ready for this move. But I appreciate y'all coming through one more time. Please tell a friend, tell a homie, tell them to come through the stream. And I appreciate the same heads that come here almost every single week. Ruslan, The Impulse, James Shen, Oliver Blue, Jeff Turner, Chris Kane. I know you can hear us in the background. 808 Diffraction. Appreciate you too, homie. I appreciate all the heads that do come through, and I appreciate you guys very much. So until next week, hit me up on Instagram or Twitter with any questions or anything you guys wanted me to get my eyes on. And until then, happy music making and have a wonderful week. And I'll catch y'all on the next episode of Artist Pro Live.